All right, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself, with one another, and the lovely Kandice. After much technical difficulties, we finally made it on to here. We're going to just do a little energy sharing, I think. We tend to flow in unison on a lot of topics synchronistically. So I think we're going to just set our intention that this energy share be for the highest and greatest good, of course, in alignment with unity, oneness, sovereignty, and the highest levels of love, light, benevolence for all. And we'll just go into there. So we were kind of deciding what our topic would be about, and I'll let you go ahead and start with what you were guided to kind of share, Kandice.
Okay, so I feel like it's a really important time right now for us to come together. And I'm hearing come together right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to come together with our frequencies. It's that combination, that combinal energy, and just offer it.
Yeah.
And courage. I just felt like I needed to get that necklace that you sent me as a wedding sort of birthday present. And inside of this, I don't know if you guys can see it.
I'm going to make a suggestion. I'm going to pause this for just a moment. So will you show that to us one more time, please? Yeah, we can kind of, so what it is it's dandelion seeds in like a resin encasing of real dandelion seeds.
It's beautiful. And it just reminds me of sending our seeds of love and frequency and having the wind, and it is so windy outside.
Mm-hmm.
Having the wind of our intentions carry those seeds all across the globe to land and take root.
Yeah.
And that's really important right now for us to all cultivate those seeds and send them out. And I like to sit with my legs crossed, but I've also been encouraged to put my feet right on the ground.
Okay. Yeah.
At least the beginning.
You what?
Sorry, at least just for the beginning of this video, to put our feet right on the ground and anchor in from our hearts into our feet.
Mm-hmm.
Just really feeling those roots and that stability.
It's so funny. I can feel my feet tingle. So we have a tendency before we pop onto these videos, it's like this energy comes through and it's like, wah! So I just want to settle in. So we'll set our intention to set roots. And it's interesting because you and I were both posting rainbows earlier. We've been seeing all this reference to rainbows. And I think that'll be our intention, to anchor ground these frequencies and to allow whatever wants to come through to assist us in doing that and spreading this into, because that's what dandelions do, is they literally are lifted by the wind. And I think of it as like piezo or piezoelectricity. That's what it looks like. And it's being carried and lifted, and the farther and more expansive we can be, the farther the dandelion seed will go. However, once it lands, you know, we're here where we need to be for a reason, is kind of what I had posted the other day too. And I think that's important to recognize as well. So do you want to get started with a little toning or light language, or would you like me to begin?
It's always a minute to adjust to the energy.
Yeah. So I know. So I'm hot. So I'm going to set, I'll start then. And that way you can anchor in, because I've got some light language that wants to come through. And I just want to back up for a moment too while you're adjusting. What I'm feeling is I want to just express with clarity and love that the light language that comes through, not everybody needs to understand, or the words are meant as an expression of love and source energy. They are an expression through my DNA, through my connection to source and all of my guidance team that I bring through in my own flavor. Kandice has her own flavor, but we have also, she and I have shared lifetimes, and we connect through in a multidimensional portal, so to speak, in our bodies in this now to a connection through our future past versions of us, so to speak. And that was kind of spread out interpretation of what we're sharing. So this is meant to be felt, and it's not necessarily going to just all be light language. Some of it is toning, and it's the sound behind the sound. It's the feeling omitted from the sound frequency that we are tapping into, that we are assisting through our own intention to assist others in transporting into, through transformation into, and expanding out into. So it's just an opportunity to connect in with a higher version of you if that's something that you wish to connect in with. So, or frequency, not necessarily of you watching this video, it's just a frequency. That's all it is. Some English might come through, some weird noises might come through, it's all good. I say weird with love.
Weird, wired for love. The highest harmonicas we are. Mm-hmm. The harmonic frequencies of the absolute harmonic convergence that converges through us in this now together as we combine our efforts in love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing this biodome that we're all kind of creating. So I guess I'll just do some toning to start. Whew. Now the energies are... I just have to laugh. If I can tone, let me give it a... I got to get that anchoring here. All right. I'm just breathing for a moment. I'll do one more round, and then I think I'm ready for you just to kind of flow in. And you might want to turn the volume down on your end just a little bit because it might echo. I know I'm kind of loud. Some light language. Okay. If you're ready, I can keep going. I'm hearing as we create this portal, as we create this portal, we flow into one another's frequency. In one another, we hold the seeds of activation of cellular recoding, cellular recalibration. And I'm seeing a seed in the pine cone expanding out, like it's looking like a dandelion seed. Let it expand out through the tunes that you are calibrating to, that you are co-calibrating, co-calibrating in unification. Sealing into your awareness, breaking through the ceiling, the glass ceiling, so to speak, looking into refraction, reflection, being in that present state of expansion. Maybe we won't cancel out each other if we just keep going. It might sound okay. We can try it. Give it a try. And and as we combine our frequencies, our forces, we ignite a frequency, a force of reunification, of unification within our grid structure, within our artwork, within our, I'm seeing thou art thou. We open doors that were perceived as locked, low key, hidden beneath the surface.
Dream weavers of the new dream together and weave together your frequencies so that we may see more clearly, so that we may bring in the new sight of possibilities.
Charge frequency activators, acrobats, swinging from branch to branch, branching out, leafing through the veins, the heart architecture, the harp architecture, the way.
Hearing that we're anchoring in the new geometries, in through the multi-layered realities that exist right here, right now, presently, that are overlaid. And I literally see us opening the doors. They are right here, and we are pushing through the layers and creating openings where there was this rigidness, this hardness. We're creating softness, and we're making it pliable and malleable, and we are opening away. We are parting the tides, shifting the tides, changing the times right now.
Parting the Red Sea of diversity. So I've been hearing a lot about times tables, so I'm going right into that. Changing the times off of your flow on that. Changing the times tables, the tables have turned. The anarchy, we are the key, and we hold the key as stabilizers, as frequency conduits, as we express in the multidimensionality through the many faces that we inhabit. We released habitual patterns that were hardening the arteries, so to speak. We were hardened in the arteries. The we are the trees. I'm hearing spin it, sister.
Oh, okay. So I was hearing that I was being shown resin, actually. Resin, resignation, and things that are held and sort of trapped in resin that are being released and freed from the territories. And I'm also hearing the reservation and the sacred people that were placed in reservations, and sort of just as an example of facets of reality and society and possibility and capabilities that were sort of forced into segregation, but that segregation is now being segued into a reunification, and that is just an example, a fractal of all the fragmentation that has happened in all of the dimensions, this rigidness and this sort of the resin. So we're melting now, we're creating that liquefaction so that all things can return to their rightful place. Anything that was hardened just is being softened and reawakened, reabsorbed through its frequency and its essence.
I see it as liquid gold. And as you were saying that, I was hearing, I had this flow a while ago, and I'm seeing it coming back into flow of, again, that piezoelectricity. You said that I was hearing, as you said that, I was seeing the dandelion seed in the resin. And then I was having that flashback to amber and how information is held within the amber. It's like frozen in time, it's stuck, and yet it holds all this information. And as the liquid or the sap moves through the trees, through the resin, as we let go of resignation, and as we resign these old frequencies, no longer re-signing old contracts, old obligations, and as this is released into the collective, it flows in flowers in time, in this time, all time, connecting past, present, future, all time. Times tables, again, have turned, multiplied, united, multiplied, PHI, PIPI, faceted, bringing together all of the pieces of the pie into wholeness, into unification.
It was just Pi Day a couple days ago at my son's elementary school.
I was singing cherry pie.
Yeah, celebrating PHI. Oh, treaties, and I was on this flow about trick or treat.
Yeah.
And we were tricked from the real treat, and that how the treaties are being released, so that we may really see what the real treat is, that we've had that treat all along, and that there's nothing to bargain or barter or trade, because we are that treat, we are that goodness, and that sweetness is within us, and we're accessing that, and we will no longer be tricked away from that.
Yeah. And this connection with all of that, it's so funny. I just want to bring up the fact that it's so cool to see these synchronicities, reminding everybody that these synchronicities and the flow comes from within us, but it's also how we see it. We see ourselves as a whole piece of the pie. We don't think that we have to get the pie or that it's sky high and out of reach. We're in synchronicity with all that we are, because we are the teachers. We are teaching. We are coming in. Everything is within reach because it's all right here. And so as we recognize that, everything dissolves and we come into again, that we were kind of in that same flow of hi-fi. I was in there and you were talking about the pie and trick or treat. And I was seeing a reference to treatise. Like there's a lot of collaborations where it's a treatise of all of these books, right, that are combined into one. And essentially, as all of those are melting and combining, all of that, those teachings and all of that works and all of the separation that has polarized things is now again coming back into that golden frequency of oneness. Even though it's a rainbow, that rainbow is established in white light. That white light holds everything. The gold frequency holds everything in essence. And so we're kind of coming back to that and releasing and realizing that that's who we are. We're not having to go be separate and play in our own sandbox because we're all in the same, sandbox essentially.
We are here to be the harmonic convergence.
Mm-hmm.
We are here to harmonically, as harmonicas, through our sound frequencies, through our physical frequencies, in activating the field, harmonically converge as all things converge, because things are converging.
Yeah. And as we harmonically converge, as we converse, as we conversate, we become into a new version of ourselves. We let go of all past versions of ourselves, for we come into this higher vibration, this higher frequency of communication, for we are the star seeds, the dandelions, the main course bursting through our veins, the main course. We are integrating, eating, into. I'm seeing like a bunch of plays off of all of this. We are in this mass convergence demonstrating the new particles that we are accelerating into past the speed of light, for we are light in speed. In speed, we set the speed, the dial, the frequency, the transmitters, the convergence, coming into this expansive frequency, trimergence, triunion, reunification, beyond the old times, beyond the concepts of time.
So I was getting reference to the Hadron Collider,
yeah,
and the particles coming together, and that's essentially what we're doing, but organically. And I was getting reference to, forgive me for these references, but for the cherry pie,
yeah,
I was in reference to popping your cherry.
yeah,
behind the membrane, the sacred blood of the innocent, and oh my goodness, hymen, I could just go on.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. That word was going over and over and over in my head.
And then the word intercourse is coming up again. And this purity and this coming of age, this is literally a time in the planet where there are many of us that are spiritually coming of age into our awareness.
Right.
And it's literally when you go through that stage, you see things that you did not see before. You're feeling things that you did not feel before. You're literally coming into your own, and now you're getting a new perspective on life. And this is so absolutely massive, because you're going from being that childlike innocence that didn't necessarily see things a certain way. Like it's literally that reference has come up many times within the last couple of years, and that's the leap in consciousness that we are going to experience and embody and help bring through in this stage of the experience of the game. And the word coronation ceremony is coming up and has been coming up.
Yeah, coronation.
Coronation. This is our coronation.
Yeah.
total full body goosebumps right now.
Yeah. And I'm hearing the time bubble has been burst, like the time capsule, this time capsule release, this release of the old ways in the new waves, in the new way of being in this. We could just go totally into flow in that coronation, because there's so much going on that represents this, going back to what you were, I'm hearing back to that in vaccination. Like there is a reference to this blood, right? If we think of cherry, and if we think of, I'm thinking of the, I could write this down and go into like 20 different tunnels, so to speak. It's crazy how my brain is like, pew, pew. But essentially this is the reunification of that divine feminine, the divine masculine. The inner child essentially is huge right now. And it's that idea that that inner child, what I wrote about this morning was that it's like we're new seeds, even though we're ancient. But I'm hearing it's like the golden era, the golden age. And I keep seeing this reference to us being birthed as children. And so even though we're recognizing and we're seeing things from a whole new perspective, new man, right? We're also doing it from that sense of inner child, bringing up that, like that idea of breaking the seal, so to speak. So the seal's been broken, but it's not that we're older and we're like jaded. It's the opposite.
We're bringing the innocent child through intact.
Yes.
We've come back to, the word rescue is coming up. Rescue, literally rescan. So it's not like this dark rescue. It doesn't have to be that way. It can just be that we've come here for something that is ours, that is ours, that's rightfully ours, this reclamation of that child, that is all of our inner children that we are.
I'm hearing Chip and Dale's Rescue Ranger, Chip and Dale. Oh, that's so funny.
Chitty chitty bang bang.
Oh my goodness, chitty chitty chitty. Oh my goodness, I went into flow on that like 4 years ago. Ooh, let's play with that, because that was an important. I had a dream about chitty chitty bang bang when I was in 6th grade.
Oh
so.
Goodness. And the toy man, and you know how they're all afraid of children.
That's what I was just thinking.
So they take all the children and they put them underground.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of adults that really miss the children, and there's this real longing for that childlike play, and you know, toys are outlawed and all of that. And they come, the main characters go and rescue the children and essentially revive the whole world, because now they've brought back that play and the freedom.
Mm-hmm. And I just laugh at this because I'm thinking about we've been talking a lot about laughter and having fun, and I am recognizing that even amidst everything that's going on, I do see a lot of laughter. I do see a lot of like jokes and a lot of fun being poked at things that I don't know that a few years ago that would have been the case. And I just feel like that whole chitty chitty bang bang. Wait, I'm thinking of the song, chitty chitty bang bang, we love you. Ooh, chitty chitty bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang, loves us too. Oh, I'm going to have to go look up those lyrics. That is hilarious. And this reference to using that imagination, because essentially we are creators of this reality. And there are a lot of beings out there that forgot about the inner child. Like you said, it was locked underneath, locked inside. And we gave the keys away in reference, and we are the key holders. I think back to Ghostbusters. Are you the key master? And we're all the key masters. We just aren't sure. We've got this whole ring of keys and we're like, well, where does it fit? And then we get so frustrated that we forget that they're all hanging on our, when you walk around and you're releasing the prison, you have to find that key that fits. And we're being guided to just let loose and relax, because there aren't really any locks that we have to open if we just relax and play and learn from our animals and learn from our children and remember what it felt like to get excited when you saw the ocean for the first time, and remember what it felt like to get excited when somebody gave you flowers and you just enjoyed the way they smelled. I mean, just little things. My dog is dreaming right now.
Oh, wow. Just really seeing through the illusion, like, and through all of these constructs, you know, that have been created through the mind. They're all, we can just choose to see through them. We don't have to play by that rule book anymore. And really coming up for review for all of us, which rules are we going to play by, and who is the ruler? What is ruling?
Yeah.
And, you know, ruler and root, like the measurement, what measurement are we using?
Yeah.
And we're asking, all of us are being asked to change our response system.
Yeah, I was hearing convoluted. I was seeing all these rioters, you know, when there's looting going on, and it's like this convoluted, like people feel like they have to go and take something because they're not going to have enough. And it's like, that's a convoluted representation of everything. Like, that doesn't have to be that way. That's if you want to play by those rules.
I went into the grocery store a couple days ago, and there was like 300 or more people in that grocery store. And the energy in there of fear was so thick, I was almost paralyzed. Like it actually caused me to start shaking like a leaf, because I'm so sensitive to energy. So I was like, what can I do about this? And I was like, just ground the energy. So I just visualized a massive tree of light in the center of this store, anchored it up and down to where it should be, you know, into the appropriate places. And then just offered every single soul in that store to benefit from that experience.
Hi, Callie. Hi, Callie. Hi, pretty girl.
And then my body stopped reacting that way. But even it was so thick that it was affecting my voice. And when I would speak, I was like stuttering. It was very, very strange. Almost like I was under a spell. And then as soon as I left those massive people, I was right back to normal.
Yeah.
I was just imagining people that don't have these grounding skills, that aren't energy conscious. I don't even know how it would feel being in that environment with all of those people. That it's such a strong frequency, or it can be.
Yeah.
So it was really a powerful experience for myself, and I felt like I sort of was working with it for about a day after that.
I'm going to pause this just for a second. So we paused the recording a minute because Kandice is a mommy. And she's in constant flow, even though she has children. There's little Callie, her little light workers. But we just were continuing our conversation. And we were talking a little, Kandice was kind of sharing with who she had been calling in as we were doing this work together. And then we're going to come back to the conversation about the energies at the grocery store, for example. But go ahead, Kandice.
Yeah, so when I was at the grocery store, I'm going to back up a little bit, and feeling all the fear energy. And it felt like it was paralyzing me, like it was a paralyzing fear. And it's so important to remember in those situations that we're not alone.
Yeah.
We're not alone, because we are all one. So to call on the other aspects of ourselves that we are one with to assist us, that have higher vantage points and are literally what I call part of our divine immune system. So I called in that instance, legions of light, legions and legions of light that love nothing more than to assist and anchor in energy, because that's you know what they do. That's what we do. And there are eyes on the outside, connected to us from within. So anyways, I called in legions and legions and legions and legions of light. Trillions.
Yeah.
Call it on as big as you can.
Yeah.
I just offered it to every single being in that store, and I saw the entire store just bombarded with those divine particles.
Yeah. And as you said, legions, I was seeing not only superheroes, but I was also seeing gems, legions. Like I was seeing the sapphire, the ruby, the emerald, the gold, the blue, all these rays coming in through. Cause I just want to touch on that briefly, because a lot of us associate our helpers and our guides with the physical form. And I know Kandice and I both sometimes just associate with them with a geometry or color. They don't have to be some, angel with wings. If you guys are seeing spheres of light or colors or shapes or geometries, those are usually also a good sign that your team is there. It doesn't have to be that you see some person, because we have a tendency to linearize our concept of what these beings are, what they look like, how they feel. They're very different sometimes than our 3D concept of what they are. So when you said that, I was guided to share about the gemstones, because they all hold a color and a shape and a frequency. And I do think that it's important just to touch briefly on the fact that a lot of information comes up about the seraphim, the oraphim, then there's all this information that comes about the blue ray and the indigo and the crystal. And I think that's why rainbow is coming through so strongly for you and I, because we hold all of those frequencies and all of those patterns from our perspective. And so we're not really limiting. When you said legions, it's not limiting it just to one being or entity. We've got a team, and that team brings in all of that for us, with us, as us. So I just wanted to touch on that as well.
And that entire spectrum of light that is
Right.
not separate, that, it's the energy goes wherever it is called to innately. And the word white blood cell has been coming up a lot for me lately, in reference to our activities here on the planet, and then in reference to aspects of ourselves that we would consider outside of ourselves, but really it's not outside, it's just in another dimensional layer of our field.
Mm-hmm.
We just feel into the fact that we're connected to fields and fields and fields of energy.
Right.
It's an extension of ourselves on another plane or vantage point.
I always like to bring up those illusion pictures, those 3D illusion pictures. Like if you look and you see the picture in the picture, it stands out, but it's not separate from it. It's still all part of it. And you need all of it to be in there in order to see the picture. Otherwise, it would just be a one linear representation. So it's like, that's kind of how I see all of these. And that's just a very simplified version. But I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, so we talked about the grocery store, and Kandice brought up a really valid point that I've been kind of tuning into as well, about how we're in this process of awakening. And for me earlier, it was like, some of this can be seen as a distraction, because ultimately we're all activating. We've got things coming in from the sun and the earth and each other. So Kandice activated a bunch of people in that grocery store that, allowed it, or this legion of beings assisted in this activation and this anchoring and grounding of these frequencies. And what happens is this stuff that's going around us, people are activating, and they don't necessarily realize it, and they're associating it with that feeling of fear. And I love what you said about the ascension symptoms. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
That was like just a thought that I had, which obviously these thoughts are coming from somewhere, especially when we're anchored in these energies, that this time right now with all of these activations that we're feeling, it's no different than anyone else. And if there's a mass awakening right now, what better way to mask ascension symptoms than providing a situation that would cause for all sorts of unusual feelings in the body?
Fear. And that is true too, because when we're having ascension symptoms, let me know if I need to pause it.
maybe for a second.
We're back.
I'm getting reference to something that I read, that collectively we're having a dark night of the soul. And our dark nights of the soul were our initiation into, or like the cracking open of the egg to let the light in, you know?
Yes.
Those moments where we went to the very bottom of the root and activated the light there. And that's happening on a mass scale right now, which is the catalyst to wake and shake people up and to cause questioning on a global level.
Yeah, about everything.
Seeing this situation, this focal point, as a potential focal point that has more implications than we could ever realize because of the collective focus on it. So it's just like, this is the opportunity for the world to have that harmonic convergence together. Just like I think it was around 9/11 that the Heart Math Institute had a reading that was very confusing because it kind of went up or something. It showed that in a time of desperation and all of that
fear
happened, that fear, people came together. Ultimately, people came together, and the ones that, like the firefighters and all those people who just were like, I'm there for humanity, who literally sacrificed themselves. And I'm not saying that people have to sacrifice themselves, but it's sacrificing a temporal self and rising to the occasion of love and just literally being there. Which is speaking to me right now, because and that's been speaking to me the last couple of days, is like, I'm literally just here to be here, and whatever happens, I'm still going to be here. It's not going to change my dedication and my devotion to my mission, which is to fully bring the light here in the best way that I can as Kandice, and that's going to look different for every person.
Oh, she's so cute even when she's sad. I think she's teething, right?
She's teething and she wants to go to sleep right now.
Well, we're she's like, I'm ready, fighting it. So I'm going to just add to that, and then I think we can probably save it. So 2 things that I think were really important to bring up, and we can always end, and I'll pause this just for a moment. So we're just going to keep going in and out just a few times here, because I know that we're in the process of putting the little ones down. I'm going to pause for a moment. So you were just saying, if there is ever a mass consciousness awakening, this is it. And I was saying it's important because you said it's to bring everybody together. And then I said, well, and to show how everything's connected.
Right. Yeah, this moment is literally capturing the focus of the entire globe. And this is a opportunity for a massive leap in consciousness. And then that's also part of the convergence, because we have all of these unique perspectives that are focalizing on it. So it's like speaking to everyone as their own sovereign being, as their own reference point of consciousness and reality, battery of reality, because we all feed into the reality together. This is an opportunity for each one to bring out the best in them in this situation. Literally step into your mastery as a human being, as a loving, in humankind, human kindness. As an ambassador. And that's another word that was coming forward. It's like, we are ambassadors. We are ambassadors and emissaries of light and love. Of, light being frequency and love being the word that we use for that, for the highest frequency emulated in a human being. It's like the highest frequency that we can express as a human being.
Sending her a little, we're playing.
And, you know,
High fives.
Sometimes it takes crisis to bring in healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when your body's in crisis, like, let's talk about a fever. What does a fever do? It causes the body to produce way more white blood cells. So then, you know, you go into a sleep, you pause all activities while things heat up in your body to generate that response. So I just feel like this whole experience is almost like creating this global fever.
Yeah.
Or it can, right? It can be a feverish frenzy, or it can be a feverish experience for us to cultivate our highest response ability.
And detoxify, unify. You know, detoxify and unity. It's like we're kind of detoxing together and reconnecting. And also, before we forget, recognizing that these feelings that are coming up when you have a fever, they're heightened. Don't you? We feel heightened emotions. We feel heightened. Our dreams are more explosive. We feel humbled. Like when we're done being sick, it's like, oh, I'm so grateful that I feel good again.
Yeah, you appreciate all the little things. And that's another thing to focus on in this situation, is that we're realizing how connected we are as a global society, just how fast things are traveling great distances, thoughts or viruses, and how fragile it all is. We're realizing the fragility of our life and how we need each other. We need all the systems that we have in place, but even more so, we need those people behind the systems to keep everything running, because we literally are all in this together, and we're all creating it together, and we all require one another. We need each other.
Yeah. And it's really showing us what systems don't work so that we can fix them.
We can improve them. This is showing all the glitches in the system.
Yeah. And
it's showing how we need things in place for when things hit the fan. Like it's, you know, it's going to bring in all sorts of revelations for what is needed.
Yeah. And that's part of, it's almost like it's awakening on a social, economic, political, all of the above, earth, our relationship with animals. So we're having this mass consciousness awakening. I think we talked about this before, this mass coronal, right? And then inside it's happening too, because if anything, that heightens our awareness and it expedites our expansion, because the more ahas we have in our, you know, we're having ahas inside of us. We're also having all of these ahas if we allow ourselves to integrate what's going on and to digest it. And then what happens is that creates the momentum, like you were saying. Are we going to take that momentum forward and move into sovereignty and recognize that we are all connected in oneness, even in sovereignty, like not giving our power away by empowering one another? And I think I talked about this a little bit the other day. I made that reference to us having like this protection and those chain links on, like the old knights used to wear. And it's like we are Groot versus I am Groot. Like we are this collaboration.
And what are we choosing? Like this is a very, very powerful choice point for us all as well. What do we want to feed into? What do we want to amplify? Really and truly, and focus on that. What the highest outcome, the highest good for all, the highest outcome. Focus on that. Bring it through in energy and vote with it. And I don't know, there's like this voting thing right now in my field. There's an election coming up or something. But it's just like, we're electing our reality. We're electing what we're co-creating together and what we create together. How do we really want to respond? And it's not just about my response, it's about our response. This is the next level. This is like the lone wolf coming into his clan, or his, I don't know what we call it, his pack. Like, we are really realizing on a global level that, like, we're a one cell, but then we're also a group cell. So it's like that collective, and which it makes me care about what my neighbor's choosing. And I was put in this situation earlier this year when I was in a whiteout blizzard like snowstorm with my children on the highway.
I remember that.
We passed by that situation, there was like a 50-car pileup behind us. 50-car pileup. And I never prayed so hard in my life. I was just like anchoring in, and I was calling in my highest timeline, and I was like, we get home safe. We get home safe. This is what happens. That's it. I'm not compromising. And it was a total whiteout. And it's just like, what was I afraid of? Was I afraid my husband was going to make a wrong choice in the road? No, I trusted him fully. I was afraid of the people around me, and I was praying for them. I was praying for 20 cars ahead of me. I was visualizing us all in alignment, all aware of each one's brake lights, everyone aware of the actions of everyone around you, because we essentially were one vehicle. I wasn't just my car. It was all of our cars, because if that person in the center decided to be in fear and freak out, they were going to spin off the road. We were all going into the ditch.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's powerful. 50 cars.
Yeah.
Symbolic too.
Someone got afraid and thought, I don't trust the person in front of me. I gotta act in fear. I gotta be. There was a semi truck that came up beside us. That it was terrifying. He was just flying, and he just carved out his way, and he was essentially pushing cars to have to go into the snow on the side, like into the space beside the lanes. Which was dangerous because it was totally packed with snow. And we saw him, he went by, we all responded accordingly together as this unit. We were like a caravan of cars. And 5 minutes later, we saw he was in a ditch, and also he took another car into the ditch with him.
Oh my goodness. And I love, obviously, that's powerful to be in that experience, and the fact that you felt so much. So you just covered so many valuable little pieces there of how you visualized expanding out your field, how you had faith in your spouse and your energy, and how you recognize what was going on around you, and how, like, there's so much to just that one story, not to mention the gratitude that coming out of that safe and all as well. And, I actually have been seeing this reference with all of the crazy drivers that I've seen in the last week. And it is managing our energy and recognizing that we are working in a unit, and you could be responsible for you're responsible for your actions and other people that are around you. Do we want to pull that in and create chaos in their lives as well? I mean, this is let's be real. Let's get real and take responsibility for our actions, and stop being asleep at the wheel or being it's like, okay, that truck driver might have had a deadline, or he might have wanted to get to see his family, but that doesn't make anybody else's sovereignty or anybody else's family less important than what he has to do. And it comes back to that feeling of there's this self-centeredness that I think many people have had or been stuck in. And it's things like this that we start to see. There is no I mean, there is we, but it's like, it isn't just about us. Even though we are the centers of our universe, we are creating our reality, we are also in this together. So it's important for us to respect other people.
And look at what's been happening with toilet paper. Like one person decided, I don't know who decided that that people needed to freak out about toilet paper, but it has created
A
that
frenzy.
that equal response in all the people around them.
Yeah.
If one family decides to take so much food for like maybe 10 families worth, then that causes every other person to have to act accordingly.
Yes.
And that's the kind of global connectivity that we are being shown. It's like, if this person is going to behave this way, now it's going to evoke a response in me.
Yes.
And it's very fragile when there's a whole crowd of people. So it's really calling on our highest actions right now as a whole. And it's just kind of like the question comes up, like, are we ready for that? Are we ready to act in unison? We didn't realize that we were being tested on that, right? Like we didn't realize that was a thing. Like, it's like we're a choir, and that's the harmonics. That's the harmonics that we should note. Are we ready to sing this song together as a world?
Yeah.
With a little preview. And then,
it's go ahead. No, I was just going to end on, I wanted you to come back into that whole energetic, because you're talking about creating that frenzy. And before we end, I thought it was important that I loved the visualization. I'm going back to the grocery store, because that toilet paper, that frenzy, it's like people were just like so upset when we were at the stores the other day that they were out of toilet paper. They were taking it out on the people that worked there. They were taking it out on other people in the aisles, and getting upset with the people that were in front of them taking too long. And it is a ripple effect. And our grocery store is a representation of life.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's be kind. And we know this, but there are those that are so wrapped up in that frenzy, in that feeding frenzy, so to speak, of energy. And then this comes back into, if we are going through a mass consciousness awakening, it is so important for the star seeds or the light workers to hold the field, like what we've been talking about, because there are those that have never gone through a dark night of the soul like they're going through now. There are those that are not sure what's going on with their body. They think that there's something wrong with them. They might be heightened and opening up telepathically and connecting into other people's frenzy. And then they take it on as their own. They might be feeling this energy coursing through their body. And like you said, you got the shakes I got them too when I pulled up in the parking lot. Now we're aware that we're feeling and picking up on everybody else's frenzy. But those people that are not aware are feeling that, and then that freaks them out even more. So there is that. I just wanted to touch on that again, because it's so important to recognize how much of an effect we are having as the light workers, as the way showers, to hold the so that when we come into the store and we just blast out all that light. I just talked with somebody recently who said that they didn't know, and a beautiful star seed, and they've kind of mentioned they didn't want, they didn't feel like they wanted to push that on somebody else. And I'm trying to think of the right words, like a little bit of like take the control away from somebody else and I said, we came here to express light, and if somebody else doesn't want it, they're not going to feel it. We're just holding our own space. And we're calling in our legions of guides. And if other people want to feel it, then they will. And that isn't our responsibility to make them feel it. I just wanted to touch on that briefly.
Just a second. Can you hit pause for a second? So when you act in silence, or you are sort of paralyzed in a way because you don't want to impose your way, right? You're like, oh, I'm being polite, I'm not gonna impose my way, and then somebody just comes and imposes their way. It's just like, to create that balance and harmony, there's that call to just truly be who you are.
Yeah.
if you're being silent, but you want to act, or you want to say something positive or empowering, but you're holding back. That's kind of like holding back in fear.
Yeah.
So it is really a call to just center yourself and say what you want to say, and really ask yourself what it is that you want to say, because what it is that you want to say is important. It's just as important as that person who just didn't think about saying what they wanted to say and said it.
Right. I love that.
We're needed to create that harmony, and our voice is really needed. And if we're choosing silence out of fear, then we're choosing fear and silence. So that's just another opportunity to see that for what it is in the ones that want to be proactive.
Right. So we're balancing out essentially the people that are asleep, that aren't taking responsibility for their actions. So we're honing it in, and we're saying we're here, and we're not going to diminish our light just because somebody else is imposing their energy in this space. So we're all sharing this energy, but we are the eye of the tornado. So if we walk into a grocery store and we have a tornado around us, our tornadoes are just going to be full of rainbows and sunshine. Somebody else's tornado might be full of, whatever. But ultimately, we're not imposing, we're just being, we're showing up. And if we happen to have, a ton of angels with us when we show up, then so it is. It's not like we're, forcing everybody else. And I just wanted to touch on that briefly, because there is a little bit of that old mentality in the lightworker community of having to stay silent and not, oh, I don't want to do this, or, oh, it's not that way anymore. Things have totally changed and totally shifted from my perspective. And it isn't about that anymore. It's just about being and creating that.
YOB, bring your own being.
Yeah.
Be your own being.
Yeah. So shine it, and, don't worry about it. It just, if you're holding that space of that higher frequency, then that other stuff it's just going to kind of melt away. It's like, doesn't exist.
And you're not being careless or reckless because you're not getting caught up in that frenzy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are actually being responsible of your own energy by creating coherence in your field so that people can see clearly and act in that compassionate, right action.
Yeah. Exactly. So for those out there, recognizing that sometimes this frenzy that we're feeding into, sometimes it's just ascension symptoms. Sometimes it's just all of this, and don't associate it. We're being invited. I'm not saying don't, because sometimes it's inevitable that that's how the mapping system works. But we are being invited to not associate it with fear, and just to kind of allow ourselves to come back into that heart center coherence. So is there anything else you wanted to add before we say our goodbyes for now? Or to be continueds?
For my own self, I'll just say that I am choosing to use everything that comes my way as an opportunity to rise more fully into who I am, and to embody more fully who I truly am. I'm using everything that comes my way for the highest and greatest good. So
beautifully said.
I invite everyone else to do that as well.
Open invitation. So we're going to end on that note. I'll keep you on just for a second, but I'm just going to say thank you. That was so beautifully spoken, Kandice. I have nothing to add to that, of course. And all of this is again, we're combining our frequencies when we share this. And when we do this as, soul brothers and sisters, and we connect, it's like, when two or more of us, when we communicate this way in our own flavor, we then send out this ripple. And that's essentially what our intention is with this particular video. So in love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and namaste.